Hi, my name's Matt from Amarok UK. I'm dropping in here with my friends from Poi Passion to teach you how to spin a Diablo today. So we'll start with a little bit of history about the Diablo. This is a circus prop that originates from ancient China. It was first called the Chinese yo-yo, and the early Diablos only had one cup, so they were an asymmetric prop, and they were made from bamboo wood with thin slits cut into the wood. So the Chinese name for the Diablo, that I can't pronounce, so I won't even try, actually translated directly into English as "make the bamboo stick whistle," because as it spins, the slits in the side would make it whistle. After years and years and years of it staying as the Chinese yo-yo, a French engineer in the early 1900s got his hands on a Diablo, and his name was Gustave Philippart. He was an incredibly clever engineer, and he developed the Diablo that we see today, the symmetrical Diablo with two cups. The obvious advantage to this is that it will now sit on the string more comfortably by itself. With only one cup, that would obviously just drop straight off. And from there, we've seen lots of different developments. We now see advanced sticks, Diablos with bearings, some of them with single bearings, double bearings, triple bearings. We've even got LED Diablos, and there is such a thing as a fire Diablo. Definitely something for an expert, definitely not something to try at home. So yeah, these are the Diablos. We'll talk as well about the name of the Diablo. It's often confused with the Spanish word for devil. However, when you look at them written down, you'll notice they're very different. One is Diablo, that's the Spanish word for devil. This is a Diabolo, which is from ancient Greece and Latin. Dia means across, and bolo means to throw. So it's the across throw. That will make sense to you more as we start to practice with this prop. So before we even begin, we really need to make sure that it's safe to start spinning our Diablo. So we're going to look around, and we're just going to make sure that we haven't got any people, any pets or animals, any expensive pieces of equipment like TVs and stereos or laptops and things like that. And we also, the family china and the ornaments that we've had for years, we don't want to break any of those. Ideally, if you can get outside to practice, then you've got lots of space there, and it's also good for you to get the fresh air. However, that's not always practical for everybody, so the first thing to do is just to make sure that you've built enough space for you to practice safely. Okay, before I start, I'm just going to make sure that this Diablo is going to work for me, and the way I do that is by popping one stick on the floor and standing on that stick. Then I pull the string tight, and the other end of that string just comes to the middle of my chest, which is pretty much perfect for me. If that's all the way up here, then when I'm holding my strings, it's going to be touching the floor, which means my Diablo won't be able to spin. The other thing that's important is that when I pull my strings out, I want to be able to make this string tight so that I have more control over it. If my strings are too long, I'm still going to have a flop in the middle. We don't want that. So pop one stick on the floor, hold the other stick right up, and we're trying to line it up to the middle of our chest. If it doesn't quite line up to there, then have a chat with a grown-up or a brother or sister, see if they can give you a hand to just tie a couple of knots in if it's too long, or it may even be that you need to find a longer piece of string if it's too short. Okay, so we've checked it's safe. We know our Diablo is going to fit for us. It's time to begin. And now we're ready to learn how to start our Diablo. You'll notice I've deliberately chosen a classic Diablo with no bearings, and I'm using wooden sticks. We meet a lot of people that say to us, yeah, I'm really good on Diablo, but only with metal sticks. Or, I can't do it on a Diablo that doesn't have a bearing. I'm here to shatter that myth. This is the classic Diablo. All of these tricks began on these Diablos. You can do them on this Diablo. Once you've learnt them on a classic, you can carry them across to all of the advanced Diablos. The problems come when people begin with a bearing Diablo and they get this belief that they can't do it on a classic Diablo because it doesn't have bearings. It's simply not true. So, my classic Diablo is on the floor. I'm going to choose my strong hand to do all of the driving. Now, for me, normally, this will be my left hand. For a lot of our people that come along to learn circus skills, it's their right hand. The joy of circus is we learn to do everything with both hands. So I'm going to demonstrate using my right hand as my strong hand today. It's going to look like this. We're going to pop the Diablo onto the string, and all we do to do that is just lower that so that it sits in the middle between the two cups. And I'm going to sit that on the floor so that I'm looking into one of the cups and the other cup is pointing away from me. That's a nice straight Diablo. Okay, so strong hand is this side. I'm going to gently roll to my weaker side and gently pick up and down the drum, just using my strong hand. So what we see a lot of is people that get quite excited and they go, oh, I'm going to roll, I'm going to pick it up, and it doesn't get us anywhere if we get too excited or trying to it too hard. So, this is the other good thing as well. I'll show you this up close. You'll see that's actually quite tangled now. So the trick will be for me to get my Diablo free, and then the strings generally, not always, but generally, will take care of themselves. Another thing that we see a lot of is people spinning a Diablo like this. Now if you look, yes, the Diablo is spinning. It's very wibbly and wobbly, and it's definitely not spinning fast. So what's happening here, our good friend Gustav Philippart will tell us with his engineering mind, what's happening is my strong hand puts energy into the Diablo and that makes it spin. If I take my other hand and start moving with that one as well, the whole thing jumps off the string. So the strong hand puts energy in and our weaker hand takes the energy out, which is what's going to make our Diablo go wobbly and unstable. So it's all on the strong hand, gently rolling to the weaker side, and drumming with just the strong hand. Now, it won't be long before your grown-ups tell you the noise is annoying, so we'll drum on the piece of air next to that stick. And you'll notice as well, we see this, and we see this, and we see this. What we're really looking for is nice and parallel to the floor, both sticks at the same height, and just my strong hand doing the work. This one is just holding the stick. So now we've got our Diablo spinning, we're going to look at how we can steer our Diablo. So we know that all of the driving is happening with our strong hand. We're also going to do all of the steering with our strong hand. So as we drive our Diablo, you'll start to notice that it might either topple away from you. You see it's leaning away from me. Eventually it will reach a point where it's leaning so far it either drops off or wraps itself up in a tangle. The other thing that can happen with this is it can start to topple towards me until it either jumps off or gets itself in a tangle. So that's where our steering really comes into play. And it's going to work like this. I'm going to start with my strong hand driving, so over we go, driving here. And I can notice my Diablo's tipping towards me, so I'll push my strong hand away to level it off. If I notice my Diablo tips away from me, I need to pull my strong hand in to level that off. So what we're looking for is a nice, even and level Diablo. It's good and stable, ready for us to do some tricks with. And the first trick we're going to look at is a good way to speed our Diablo right up. So to get our Diablo spinning nice and fast, we've already got it moving, we've already got it nice and straight and level and stable using our steering. Now we're going to do a move called the whip. And the way that works is we're going to open out, go under our other stick, open out and go over our other stick. It's quite a tricky one to demonstrate slowly. I'll go as slow as I can. I'm going to go under, over, under, over, under, over. And as you get used to it, you'll see that you can really get that Diablo spinning really, really fast there. Okay, and now the Diablo is spinning at super speed. It's nice and stable. It's telling me it's ready to be thrown. The way we go about a throw, normally we throw with our hands, lifting them up and down. Now what we see with Diablos is that when people do that, they normally end up with a bump on the head. So to throw our Diablo, we're not going to lift our hands all the way up in the air like this and end up with a crash on the head. We're going to tell a little story. And our little story goes like this. We start our Diablo spinning. We get it nice and fast so that it's ready to go. And without even worrying about catching it, we just say to our friends, we say, I went fishing the other day, I caught a fish. And your friend will say, how big? And you say, this big. And that's where the throw happens. We're not moving our sticks upwards to throw, we only move them outwards to throw. And you'll notice this middle bit of the string, as I open my strings out, it starts at my belly button, but then lifts all the way to my nose. That's the bit that's throwing my Diablo up in the air. Okay. Now, other things to look out for. We're not trying to send our Diablo into orbit. It's not going to become part of the Starlink satellite chain. It's not going to chase the ISS round in orbit. We want this to be nice and gentle as we throw it, because everything that comes up is going to come down and we're standing underneath this. So we're going to throw really gently and just get used to throwing so that the Diablo stays nice and central in the middle of us. Once we know that we can keep throwing it in that same spot, then we know we're ready to try catching it. And the trick for catching, we see a lot of this. We see people do a brilliant throw and then trying to catch this way. It's really, really hard. We're giving our brain too much to do. So I'm trying to catch my Diablo on the centre, which as I throw it, I can't see the centre of that Diablo. So I'm aiming for something I can't see, and I'm aiming for it with a floppy piece of string that's moving. I'm making it very difficult for myself to catch that. So we're going to try a better way. And the trick for this will be, we'll throw our Diablo gently and we will keep our strings tight. And then I'm going to aim my strong hand and point it at the middle of my Diablo, because then it should almost always roll down onto the string. Let's give that one a go and see how it looks. So all the same rules as always. First we need it spinning. We need it nice and straight and level, and we need it spinning fast so that it stays straight and level. Okay, so a gentle throw, keep the strings tight and point the stick at the middle of the Diablo. It's going to look like this. There we go. And as you can see, because I'm getting under my Diablo, much easier for me to aim where I want this string to be. Don't worry too much if you're doing things like throwing and nearly catching and it's bouncing off. It's all part of the journey. There's this wonderful saying that goes around in circus skills. It says the only difference between the teacher and the student is that the teacher has failed more times than the student has tried. If you're dropping your Diablo, your brain is learning. So stick with it, don't lose heart, and it's really good exercise for your back. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is the perfect accompaniment to those throws. I'm going to show you how to do the big finish catch. Great one for your audience. When you're showing off your tricks to your friends and your grown-ups, they'll love it. So we're going to get our Diablo spinning nice and fast. We'll do a few of our tricks that we've already learned. That nice throw. Now this time, when I throw the Diablo up in the air, I'm going to try and catch it between the sticks like chopsticks. In slow-mo, what's happening here is I'm spinning my Diablo, I open for a throw, then I'm going to put my left stick into my right hand. I want enough space here for the Diablo to definitely fit, but I need to make sure that there's enough of a closer or a crossover there that it will make the Diablo stop. And the most important thing is when you get to this position, take a bow, because you've done really, really well. Okay, so let's show you that one in full swing. We're going to go. Amazing show, ready for the big finish, and hop. Now we can look at some tricks that we can do whilst keeping our Diablo on the string. So, same rules as always, get a good spin on, make sure it's nice and stable, and we're going to have a go at a trick called an orbital. So to do this, I'm going to pass the Diablo on the inside of my strong arm and over the stick of my weak hand. I roll it in towards me, flick it over, and catch it there. Don't worry if you're doing this and it's going flying off or getting in a tangle. If it starts to wibble like that, go back to our whip, and you see how quickly that stabilised things for me there. So we swing out, swing under, and there we go. Now if we can swing under, we should be able to swing over. So let's just see what that looks like. There we go. So it's going over the strong hand and coming inside the weak hand. Just like that. So we've gone over, we've gone under. Let's be really brave and see if we can go over both. So the way that's going to work is nice and gently, really gently for this one, we're just going to go over. But what does that mean now? It means I've got a twist in my string. So I went over both and it twisted my string. To untwist my string, I'm going to try going under both. So let's have a go. So first things first, over both, twist the string, under both, untwists the string. So it's a fiddly one to get used to, and it will definitely feel strange as you first start to practice it, but we go over, under, over, under. So now we can go under the strong arm, over the strong arm, over both, and under both, and still keep our Diablo spinning and free and not tangled. So those are orbitals. So now we've got our orbitals, we've got our basic throw, and we've got our big finish. Let's just see if there's another cheeky little move that we can tack on to our throw set. We're going to see what it's like to step through our Diablo. And you'll notice I'm still steering, so I still need to either push my strong hand forwards or backwards. Just seeing what it is to keep the Diablo going with one leg through the strings. As that starts to feel really comfortable, you're going to get a bit braver. You're going to step through and you're going to sway your Diablo from one side of your leg to the other. If that's starting to feel smooth, then you're ready to go for a super cool trick. Let's straighten up. So, the way this is going to work, we speed ourselves up into it. We're going to step through, and instead of swaying, I'm looking now to flick the Diablo onto the string over my leg. So, stepping through, swing to the outside and flick over. Outside and flick over. What's really nice is to just do one, because then that really gives you that chance to line up the string with the center of the Diablo. As soon as that's feeling comfortable, you can go into back-to-back leg throws, and that's just going to look like this. So it's that sway underneath and then flicking across to the other string. Tie that together with all your other tricks, you're on your way to building a show. And the next trick I'm going to show you is a prime candidate for these conversations about I can't do it on a classic Diablo, I can only do it with metal sticks, I can only do it with a bearing Diablo. We're going to do a trick called a stick grind. So you'll notice I'm still using my classic Diablo and my wooden sticks, because it's very possible. We need to start our Diablo spinning, and we really want to get some speed into it. The faster this is spinning, the better it's going to work for a stick grind. Once that's spinning really, really fast, all I'm looking at doing is a gentle flick. So again, speeding this Diablo up so it's spinning really fast. And then gently up onto the stick and flick back down. So for all of your big brothers and sisters and all of your friends that say that they can only do stick grinds on a bearing Diablo, we're just proving them wrong. Okay, so that you notice the difference, I'll show you what it's like to do that move with metal sticks and a bearing. The truth is, it is easier. However, it's easiest because I learnt it first on a classic Diablo. So we're going to spin our Diablo nice and fast, and once we're ready, and as you can see, the bearing allows this to stay stable on the stick for a lot longer than it would with the classic Diablo. The trick is to get as much speed as you can into there, because the moment of crash comes when this Diablo starts to slow down and it picks up a bit of friction on either one side or the other, which means suddenly one side is spinning fast and the other side is slowing down, which is going to topple it and throw it off. More speed will keep your classic Diablo spinning in a grind for much longer. And our last little trick that we'll show you today will be the cat's cradle. Now, this is a wonderful looping of knots to end up with this shape in our strings. If I hold that there, you can probably see that a little bit easier. So just a cross in the middle, and then a straight line through the bottom. The way we're going to get into that is by doing a wrap over. So we start our Diablo spinning, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to swing the whole thing to my strong side and let it swing up and over and catch that on the string. So you can see I've got a loop one side and my Diablo still spinning on the bottom. This is where it's going to get fiddly. To get a cat's cradle, I'm going to do a wrap over just like I just did, and when I see that loop, I'm going to poke this end of the stick into the loop to pull it out. It'll make more sense when you see it. So, wait, hang on, we missed. Over, catch, into the loop. So nearly. You can see this crossover that we have, where we've got a loop in our strings. I can trampoline the Diablo above me, and to get out of this, all I need to do now is fold the tips inwards and pull the string tight, like that. Do that slowly for you. Ooh. Just like that. Right, let's give that one more go. So we'll wrap over into the loop. And thanks for coming along to learn how to spin a Diablo with me, Matt from Amarok UK, and my wonderful friends at Poi Passion. Do be sure to get in touch, send us photos and videos of your practice and your awesome tricks that you've got nailed. That's the bit that we love the most, is seeing what you guys have been up to. Thanks.